Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com. And today's topic is serious strength training. Now, for a lot of us, we just use strength training for the general population. It's just a hobby. You know, we like to work out, we want to gain some muscle, but if our friends or our family want to pull us away from something else, we'll miss training. But there is a few of us, and not very many, that we treat training like a lifestyle. And so if that's you, tune into this video and pick up some of these key tips and tricks that we can use to get the best we can possibly be. So before we get into all that, please like and subscribe, and make sure that you go to winningstrength.com and follow some of our manuals. And if you're super serious, come on to online coaching, where we'll custom tailor everything around your equipment, your goals, and your needs. Now, for the very few of us that want to take training super seriously and won't miss it for hardly anything, barring maybe funerals, or in my case, got my balls busted for missing my brother's wedding training for an all-time world record squat, which was totally insane at the time. But in that particular time in my life, I thought that that was the only thing that mattered. And luckily it did, because for me, I didn't have the genetics to be able to miss days and not be super stringent on my training. So I had to push it. And I feel that a lot of people with average or maybe even slightly above average genetics are going to have that mentality. If you're a super freak, you can probably miss all kinds of training days and still do really, really well, which I'm insanely jealous of. But that just wasn't my mentality or my level of genetics. I had to basically dig, grind, and push for every little pound that I could put on in my total throughout my lifting career. But enough of that. Let's get into the tips and talk about what I feel is the most important things when you want to do serious strength training. Tip 1, you need to use a variety of methods and exercises. Because if you are average genetics, or maybe even slightly above average genetics, the amount of wear and tear of utilizing the same exact exercises in the same exact positions will start to create a toll on you between years 3 and year 5. Now, a lot of programs won't write in a lot of variety because 1, it makes coaching a pain in the ass. 2, it makes people have to have more variability in their training, i.e. bars, chains, and bands. So for a lot of simplistic coaches and ones that I feel sell their particular clients and athletes short are the ones that are not willing to invest in training modalities that will make them better over the long haul. But you can't fight or argue with these coaches, because I understand their methodologies as well. Their methodology is that most people, because we're talking serious strength training here, the majority of people that are into fitness and working out will be completely gone within the first year to 2 years, 100%. And so, although I get upset and frustrated that a lot of these different coaches will use very simplistic systems, I also understand, now being in the market for 20 years, that most people are just not serious enough. So 95% of the programs that are either super cheap or free on the internet are designed for that person alone. They don't care about your health in 5 to 10 years. They don't care that these programs will fuck up your knees or tear up your arms or, mess up your elbows or your shoulders or your back, because you're probably not even going to do it long enough for those to be a problem. But not to get too far into that, let's stick with the serious strength training. A variety of methods are important for one major reason. Think about it like building a car. If you go in to build a car from scratch and all you have is a hammer and a screwdriver, you're probably going to be pretty limited on the quality of the car you're going to put together, right? But if I have a welder, cutters, pipe benders, electrical equipment, I have torches, I have all kinds of different tools in my toolbox, wrenches, sockets, the chances of me building and putting together a quality car are much, much higher because I have the tools available. Now, this may suck slightly with a garage gym owner, which is why we created a garage gym workout, which I feel was the best rotation for simplistic equipment. But at the end of the day, if you have high achieving goals, then you're going to need high achieving pieces of equipment. Things such as belt squats to reduce the amount of compression on your back. Things such as good morning machines to put you and force you in a safe position with a built-in spotter. Things like fat bars and safety bars and all these other things are going to do a couple of different variables. They're going to do one, they're going to give you variety so that the joints are not getting blasted in the same spot over and over and over again. But the next thing is it's going to unlock other doors and for you to be able to get super strong in a long period of time. Because for most people, if you start off just lifting and you're like, I want to be a world record holder, that's probably going to take a minimum for people with average to slightly above average genetics over 10 years. The problem is you have to make it 10 years in order to be able to do that. And I feel that using a very simplistic system with the exact same equipment over and over and over again is a great way to specially get better at specific movements, but over time will cause higher mileage. The second tip that I wanted to go into is you have to treat your eating and your sleeping as important as your training. So for me, one of the biggest reasons that I retired in 2018 from competitive lifting was because my training was taking me about 12 hours of sleep per day to recover from. I was at the upper echelon of my genetics, squatting close to 900 pounds raw, benching well over 600, and deadlifting anywhere between the mid sevens to the lower eights. Now at 6'1" with shorter arms built to bench, that was a very, very monumental task to pull 800 in my position. Because what you find is most people that can bench 6 cannot deadlift 8 or plus. Now, there are a handful of guys that can do it, but most of them are much, much shorter. The point is that you have to take your eating and your sleeping very, very important in your training. So as you get stronger, you're going to need more recovery time. That means more nutrients, which means more food. You're going to need more sleep in order to recover. I think that the top level guys probably at minimum are sleeping around 10 hours, and they probably are taking in anywhere from 3,500 to 5,500 calories. When I was at 310 pounds, I was taking about 7,000 calories a day. So my point being is that if you really want to be the best you can be, it's a 24-hour period, and it's not just as important as what you're doing in the gym. The next thing that I think people completely miss the boat on, and this is if you're just starting, but you're serious about working out, you have to remember that strength training is not just about muscle. There are a lot of other factors that are involved in training that make you super strong. For one, you have the nervous system. The central nervous system is responsible for activating and recruiting muscle tissue, not only at maximum when you go super heavy, but also synchronizing it with different muscle tissues to do the exact same thing that it needs to be done, i.e. using quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes all in an integral unit to be able to squat. That is a learned process that doesn't necessarily cause more muscle mass. It causes a better signaling to the muscle to get it to do what you want it to do. The next thing, and I think is one of the most important things, is the passive tissue, the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, and the cartilage. What we have to remember is those grow at different rates than muscle tissue because of its vascular makeup, meaning that most of those tissues are fed lymphatically, therefore they grow slower to training than muscle tissue does. This is what makes taking anabolic steroids so dangerous, because it really has a strong effect on the muscles, but not as much of an effect on passive tissue. This can be a big, big problem and why we see so many injuries occurring. So the trick is staying away from injuries and understanding that your central nervous system is going to be a key role in you getting stronger, which is why we use the dynamic method at wenningstrength.com. And it's been used for the last 60, 70 years in the Soviet system, as well as at Westside Barbell. So the dynamic effort system is creating rate of force. This is a secondarily way to get stronger that allows your central nervous system to get more activated under quicker conditions, therefore turning on just as much muscle tissue as maxing. This is called compensatory acceleration. Compensatory acceleration is turning on maximal muscle tissue due to rate of force versus just using heavy weights. So I hope this video has kind of opened up your mind a little bit to where if you want to take training seriously, you probably need to be focusing on these major 3 areas in order to make progress. We need to last a long time in order to see the best we can be. We need to be able to treat it like a 24-hour process to get better. And we also need to realize that strength training and getting super strong isn't just about muscle, because if we're working constantly around injuries, we're going to have big problems. We have to slow down every 4 to 6 weeks, take deloads, and allow the central nervous system and the ligaments and tendons to catch up to your training. So this is Matt Wenning at wenningstrength.com. Talk to you guys soon.